This is the fourth speaking video that I'm filming today, and the deaf accent is coming out even more because my throat hurts. But actually we're going to talk about something deaf related, because right before I sat down to film my videos, I actually got an email that inspired this fourth speaking video. And I got an email that said something along the lines of, "I'm sorry that you are deaf, and I feel very bad for you." So we're gonna kind of like unpack why stuff like that is just not really good to say, especially if it's not good to send it to somebody's business email. First, that's one thing. It's not good to send it to somebody's business email who uses a business email for business. But also, just, "I'm sorry that you are deaf and I feel so bad for you," it's just not good to say. So I would like to make a disclaimer that everybody feels differently. This does not speak for every deaf person, every disabled person. This is my thoughts, my feelings, and the thoughts and feelings of other people who have the same feelings. So there are many of us deaf people that are completely okay with being deaf. And of course, there are people who really hate being deaf. Sometimes these are the people that were born deaf, grew up deaf, and they may have either been one, mainstreamed, or two, grown up culturally deaf. But I don't know, that there's a less chance of hating being deaf if you grew up in deaf culture, because you grew up with a whole big family and all of that. So yeah, but I think it mainly comes from those who don't like the hearing loss, who don't like being deaf, come from the mainstream side of things, where they don't have access to ASL, or the sign language of their country, and they never grown up in any sort of deaf culture. They may be the only deaf person that they knew, etc., etc. I have experienced that in the past. Before I was like 20 years old and finally finding out that there was something out there, like more people that were like me, I hated it. I did. But that was only because I was in a very country-like town with people that just didn't know what to do with deaf people. Wouldn't give them any jobs because they thought, "Oh, you can't do anything. You are a liability." So no, schooling was out of the question, like more than high school. Past high school schooling, higher education. That can make a person feel inadequate, and that has the chance of making people hate being deaf or disabled, right? But again, then you have people who may have grown up like me, mainstream, but at the end of the day, maybe they still don't find deaf culture, right? Or ASL or whatever. Maybe they are very happy with the way they are. Maybe they have a hearing aid, maybe they have cochlear implants, whatever, and they're just fine. Okay, cool. And then you have grown-up mainstream, found deaf culture, starts learning ASL or, sign language. They're very, very happy, they feel better. And then you have the fourth, or the third, I've lost count now, fourth. They either grew up with deaf parents, or maybe they grew up in a hearing family, but the hearing family did more research and they weren't like, "Oh my god, they're gonna fail in life," but instead they did their research and they put them in a deaf school, put them in say they moved to like a place where there's a deaf community. So, like Seattle or Washington, D.C., or somewhere like in is it Riverside? No, Northridge. Just in Los Angeles. Let's just say Los Angeles. So places where there are strong deaf communities. So they grew up, they flourish even more, or whatever, and they're happy. It's not a polite thing to say. Overall, it's just like, especially if you're coming to someone who has expressed time and time again that they're fine. I mean, they may mention in the past that they were like, "Oh no," but if they mention now that they're fine, they have no problems with it. Yes, sometimes it may be difficult, it may be hard, there may be moments when we're just like, "Wow, this sucks," but it's not necessarily, it could be sometimes, but it's not always necessarily because the ears don't work properly. It's because of the lack of accessibility in society. So it's not because of the ears, it's not because of the legs or the arms or whatever. Now we're kind of getting all like general here about disability and whatnot. A lot of the time, it comes from the behavior of people that are not the same as us. It comes with the fact that there are no ramps, there's no accessibility on the sidewalk, no ASL interpreters or captions, and, you know, the plastic straw ban and stuff like that. And of course, it's easier to say this type of thing behind a keyboard, behind a computer screen. I imagine that people probably wouldn't go up to someone in person and say, "I'm so sorry." Actually, that is a lie. I've experienced it. I do think that people would be less likely to do that, but that does not mean that it has not happened. I have experienced when I was out with my biological mother, and my biological mother is also deaf. That's basically how this is why I am. And we were out at a kiosk, we were at the jewelry repair, and, you know, she's also deaf, and he knew this because she was a frequent customer, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh, are you deaf too?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, and it's not the first time it's happened. Like, if somebody, like, I'm trying to talk to somebody, and their, like, you know, mouths are covered and whatnot, and I'm like, I'm deaf, I'm gonna need you to, like, not do that. And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Of course, it could be because they didn't realize, and, you know, it's like a reactionary, "Oh, I'm sorry," because, you know, I've done that too. Like, I'm doing something, you know, awkward or not what I should be doing, really, because it's not helping the other person. Sometimes they'll be, like, moving my hand out of the way for whatever reason. I'm like, "Oh, sorry." When you recognize it from the tone of the voice or, like, the facial expressions, right? So you kind of can tell the difference. Deaf people are good at this, and, like, disabled people who can hear better are good at this. So we noticed when one shows off the pity face or says it with a pity tone, and I feel so bad for you, I'll pray for you and your deafness and whatever, you know. It's just rude. First of all, it gives off the feeling that you think that it's a bad thing, and that there's something wrong with us, when really, I mean, we could say, "Yeah, yours don't work too well," which isn't necessarily the most positive thing, but it's just, you know, it's one thing when we say that about ourselves and crack jokes about ourselves, and it's different when a random stranger comes into your inbox or in your personal space and says that kind of thing. It's just, they're very different. You know? And even if you went up to a person who really didn't like being disabled or deaf or whatever and said that, I still wouldn't recommend it, actually, because it doesn't help. it doesn't help the situation at all, you know? But it's especially, don't go up to someone at all. It's like you wouldn't go up to somebody, or you shouldn't go up to somebody and say something about their looks, about what they're wearing, about what they're doing, about what they sound like, or whatever. It's just, it's rude. Just, if you have that kind of thought, please just keep it to yourself and don't project it out and say it to other people. It's fine. I'm deaf. I mean, I'm pretty much completely deaf in this ear, basically, almost. And I've got some hearing left. It's getting worse by the day. But it's not going to bother me. It doesn't, I mean, I go on about my daily life the same way I always have. The only times I have problems with it is when the behavior of abled society is basically, you know, making it like it's supposed to be a bad thing. So, you know, not listening to me or not accommodating me when I'm asking them to write down on paper or type on my phone, or if I'm asking for interpreters or captioners at events, or, you know, when there's no captions on a video, that's when it becomes a problem. But it's not because of me, it's just because of the lack of accessibility in the world, when there should be, because laws. Most of it. Some of them, some little itty bitty things don't have laws, but so they can get away with it, unfortunately. So that's all I have to say on the matter. I'm sure there's a whole lot of videos like this. Probably some of my other disabled friends, the other disabled YouTubers that you know probably have similar videos. If you have any experiences like this, you're more than welcome to leave your stories down in the comments below. But after you do that, and before you go, if you haven't considered being a pledge on Patreon, I give you exclusive content like music playlists on Spotify and some writing that you won't see on Medium, and pen pal letters if you want to go high enough. And I will see you later. Bye.